Okay, so picture this. It's late August 1st, 2018, and you have this young woman, Mary Katherine Higdon,
Okay.
frantically dialing 911, right?
Right.
Her voice is just trembling, you know, with fear and remorse.
Yeah.
She confesses to shooting her boyfriend, Stephen Freeman,
Oh, wow.
in the neck,
Oh, my gosh.
but she insists it was an accident.
Uh-huh.
So that's where our deep dive begins today, okay?
Got it.
We're going to dissect an article
Okay.
from investor.com called The Case Against Mary Katherine Higdon,
Okay.
A Tragic Turn of Events,
Yeah.
and try to figure out, was this truly an accident or is there something more to this story?
So what makes this case immediately intriguing is the setting, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're not talking about some sort of random street shooting or anything like that.
Right.
This happened in their home, in their shared home.
Oh, wow.
So, that automatically adds layers of complexity to kind of understanding like what led to this.
Absolutely. And to really grasp, the rawness of this situation.
Right. Yeah.
Let's listen to a snippet of that 911 call.
Okay.
Hearing her voice, the sheer panic in it. It's bone-chilling, isn't it?
Yeah. It certainly is. But
Yeah.
beyond the raw emotion, I think this initial confession has some significant legal ramifications, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it was made even before the police arrive.
Wow.
It's like setting the stage for the entire legal battle to come.
You're right. It's almost like an immediate plea of self-defense, even before knowing if it's needed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the police arrive.
Okay.
The scene is chaotic.
Yeah.
Stephen is found unresponsive on a mattress.
Right.
And Mary Katherine is distraught,
Mm-hmm.
repeating that she can't comprehend how the firearm discharged.
Okay.
She specifically tells officers, I wasn't even pointing it directly at him. I was trying to hand him the gun.
See, that's precisely where cracks in the narrative begin to appear.
Wait.
Well, how can a supposedly unintentional shot while handing the gun over result in a bullet wound to the neck? The trajectory simply doesn't add up.
Right. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
It raises a lot of questions
Yeah.
about the physical mechanics of the situation.
Exactly.
Plus, the article mentions investigators didn't find any evidence suggesting that the gun was mishandled during a handover.
Right, and the plot thickens further when you consider the forensic evidence.
Oh, really?
Lieutenant Chris Wilson was the first investigator at the scene.
Okay.
And he noted signs of a struggle in the living room. Thrown food,
Oh, wow.
indicating a possible physical altercation.
Okay.
This paints a picture that extends beyond just a simple, unfortunate accident.
Okay, so we're starting to see pieces of a potential puzzle here.
Yeah.
But before we dive deeper into the forensic details, I think it's essential to pause
Okay.
and remember the victim in this tragedy.
Yes.
Stephen Freeman was only 23,
Oh, wow.
a young man with a deep love for the outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
Hunting, fishing,
Yeah.
those were his passions. He was incredibly close to his mother, Jennifer,
Uh-huh.
and his sudden violent death was a devastating blow to everyone who knew him.
You're absolutely right. I think sometimes focusing solely on the investigation can kind of overshadow the human cost of these events.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stephen's life was cut short,
Right.
and the impact on his family, especially his mother, is something we need to keep in mind as we kind of unpack this case further.
Completely agree. Now, turning back to Mary Katherine, the article kind of paints a picture of her as a lively, energetic person, the kind of person who lights up a room.
Yeah.
But it also hints at, underlying challenges in her relationship with Stephen.
Oh, okay.
They were high school sweethearts,
Uh-huh.
had been living together,
Right.
and shared that love for the outdoors.
Okay.
Crucially, they both were deeply interested in firearms.
And here's where a seemingly small detail becomes incredibly significant, right?
Okay.
Mary Katherine actually worked at a sporting goods store,
Oh, wow.
where part of her job was selling guns.
Okay.
So this familiarity with firearms adds a whole new dimension to her claim of an accidental discharge.
Right.
It goes beyond simply knowing how to handle a gun.
Yeah.
She understood their mechanics, their power, their potential lethality.
That makes her claim of not understanding how the gun went off even more difficult to believe.
Right.
It's almost like a contradiction in terms.
Yeah.
Someone with her knowledge of firearms would arguably be, hyper aware of safety precautions.
Exactly.
So a genuine accident seems less plausible.
Right. And this knowledge would definitely be a focal point for both the prosecution and the defense.
Oh, yeah.
As they try to reconstruct the events of that night.
Right.
To understand if Mary Katherine's actions were truly accidental or something more deliberate.
So we have conflicting accounts, forensic evidence hinting at more than just an accident, and a suspect who knows guns inside and out. It's a web that's getting more tangles with every detail. What kind of firearm are we talking about here, and how does that fit into all of this?
The weapon in question was a Glock 43. Now, what makes this particularly relevant is that Glocks have a specific safety feature.
Okay.
They require a conscious trigger pull to fire.
Oh?
So this means that an accidental discharge, especially by someone familiar with firearms like Mary Katherine, becomes even less likely.
So we're not talking about a gun that can easily go off by mistake. This adds another layer to the mystery. How could someone with Mary Katherine's experience have supposedly caused an accidental discharge with a Glock? Especially given the forensic evidence suggesting a struggle. It seems like the puzzle pieces aren't fitting together neatly.
Exactly, and this raises crucial questions about the sequence of events leading up to the shooting.
Yeah.
Did the struggle occur before Stephen was shot?
Right.
Was the gun introduced during the altercation?
Yeah.
These are the questions that investigators would need to answer to kind of paint a clearer picture of what really transpired that fateful night.
And these are the questions that we will be discussing today as we take a deep dive into this fascinating yet tragic case.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we're piecing together a mosaic.
Yeah.
But some of the tiles are missing, and others seem to belong to a different picture altogether.
Right. It's that dissonance that makes this case so captivating, right? We have these seemingly disparate elements.
Yeah.
This loving relationship.
Right.
Shared passion for firearms. And then a sudden eruption of violence.
Right.
And at the center of it all is this question.
Yeah.
Was it an impulsive act in the heat of the moment?
Yeah.
Or something more calculated?
Well, the prosecution certainly believes it was the latter.
Oh, really?
They charged Mary Katherine with felony murder.
Okay.
It's a legal term that often throws people off.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't necessarily mean she planned to kill Stephen,
Oh.
but it implies that his death occurred during the commission of a felony.
Okay.
In this case, aggravated assault.
Oh.
So they're alleging that a heated argument escalated, potentially became physical, and culminated in Mary Katherine intentionally shooting Stephen.
So the prosecution's argument hinges on the idea that the shooting wasn't a standalone event.
Right.
But rather the climax of a series of unlawful actions.
Yeah.
It makes the case even more intricate, doesn't it?
Absolutely it does. It introduces this concept of malice aforethought,
Okay.
which doesn't require premeditation in the traditional sense.
Okay.
It's more about demonstrating an intent to cause serious harm,
Right.
even if death wasn't the specific goal.
Wow, that adds a whole other layer to this legal puzzle. What about the defense? How do they counter this serious accusation?
Well, the defense, as you might expect, is clinging tightly to the claim of accidental discharge.
Okay.
They're painting a picture of Mary Katherine as distraught,
Right.
horrified by what happened. Their argument relies heavily on her initial 911 call,
Okay.
where her panic and remorse seem genuine. They're trying to portray her actions as a tragic mistake, a moment of carelessness with devastating consequences,
Right.
rather than a deliberate act of violence.
It's a classic he said, she said scenario.
Yeah.
Made even more complex by the physical evidence
Right.
and Mary Katherine's familiarity with firearms.
Exactly.
It must be incredibly difficult for the jury to decide who to believe.
Well, yeah, especially with such high stakes.
Absolutely.
Imagine being a juror in this case.
Oh, yeah.
You know you're presented with this conflicting testimony.
Right.
The emotional weight of the 911 call.
Yeah.
The chilling forensic details.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the technical specifications of the Glock.
Yeah.
Requiring a deliberate trigger pull.
Right.
It's a delicate balancing act.
Yeah.
Weighing the evidence.
Right.
The emotional appeals. And the legal definitions to arrive at a verdict.
It's a reminder that the legal system isn't about finding absolute truth.
Yeah. Right.
It's about determining guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And in a case like this, where emotions run high
Yeah.
and the line between accident and intent is blurred, that standard can be incredibly challenging to apply.
Absolutely. And amidst all this legal back and forth, it's crucial not to lose sight of Stephen's family.
Yeah.
Especially his mother, Jennifer.
Right.
The article mentions her struggle to reconcile Mary Katherine's version of events
Right.
with the loss of her son,
Yeah.
you know. It's a heartbreaking situation
Yeah.
where grief is intertwined with a sense of betrayal and the nagging suspicion that justice might not be served.
It's almost like Jennifer is living a parallel investigation,
Yeah.
piecing together her own understanding of what happened
Yep.
based on her deep knowledge of her son
Right.
and his relationship with Mary Katherine. She's seeking answers that go beyond the courtroom,
Absolutely.
answers that can help her process the immense grief and trauma she's experiencing.
You put it perfectly. Jennifer's perspective adds a layer of human complexity that transcends the legal argument.
Yeah.
She's not just a witness. She's the embodiment of the profound impact this case has had on those closest to Stephen.
Yeah.
Her search for truth, for closure, is a powerful reminder that these cases aren't just about legal outcomes.
Right.
They're about the lasting effects on the lives of those left behind.
It's a reminder that sometimes, even with a verdict, there are no real winners.
Yeah.
Everyone involved carries the weight of this tragedy,
Right.
in different ways, but with an equal measure of pain.
It makes you ponder the ripple effects of such a case.
Yeah.
Imagine the lives forever altered.
Right.
Stephen's family and friends,
Yeah.
Mary Katherine and her supporters, even the investigators and jurors tasked with making sense of this intricate web of evidence and emotions. It's a sobering reminder that actions have consequences that reach far beyond the immediate participants.
Absolutely, and it brings us back to that initial question.
Yeah.
Was this a tragic accident or a deliberate act of violence?
Right.
As we've delved deeper into the forensic analysis,
Yeah.
the legal complexities, and the heart-wrenching human element of this case, what are some key takeaways that stand out to you?
Yeah, it's like we've been walking a tightrope, right?
Yeah.
Between two, starkly different narratives.
Right.
And with each piece of evidence, with each expert opinion, we're swaying back and forth,
Yeah.
It's a reminder that truth is often far more elusive than we'd like to believe.
Precisely, and that's one of the most striking takeaways from this deep dive for me.
Yeah.
It really highlights how a single event can be perceived and interpreted and argued in completely different ways.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
We have the prosecution pushing for a felony murder charge,
Right.
suggesting a deliberate act of violence,
Right.
while the defense is steadfastly advocating for accidental discharge,
Right.
a tragic mishap.
Yeah.
Both sides are using the same evidence, the same testimony,
Yeah.
but constructing entirely different narratives.
So they're building separate houses with the same set of bricks.
Exactly. Yeah. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yet also a little unsettling, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because it makes you realize how subjective our understanding of truth can be.
It absolutely is, and it underscores the importance of critical thinking,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to true crime.
Right.
We can't just passively accept the information presented to us. We need to dissect it, analyze the different perspectives, weigh the evidence,
Right.
and ultimately form our own conclusions.
You're right. It's about engaging with the material, not just consuming it.
Exactly, yeah.
It's about asking questions,
Yeah.
challenging assumptions,
Mm-hmm.
and acknowledging that even with all the information in the world, there might not be a clear-cut answer.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the heart of this case.
Yeah.
The question that hangs over every piece of evidence,
Right.
every witness statement,
Yeah.
every legal argument, was this a tragic accident
Right.
or a calculated act of violence?
It's a question that likely haunted everyone involved in this case.
Absolutely.
From the investigators trying to reconstruct the scene
Yeah.
to the jurors tasked with delivering a verdict.
Right.
And it's a question that we as listeners are left to ponder as well.
Absolutely.
There's no easy answer.
Nope.
No satisfying resolution.
Yeah.
Just a complex web of events and motivations and consequences that defy simple categorization.
And that, in my opinion, is what makes this case so compelling.
Yeah.
It forces us to confront the gray areas of human behavior,
Yeah.
the moments where love and rage,
Right.
intention and accident become intertwined in ways we might never fully understand.
It's a stark reminder that real life doesn't fit neatly into the boxes of guilty or not guilty.
Right.
It's messy.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Uh-huh.
And it often leaves us with more questions than answers.
But those unanswered questions,
Yeah.
those lingering doubts,
Mm-hmm.
are what can lead us to a deeper understanding, not just of this case, but of the human condition itself.
So as we conclude this deep dive into the case against Mary Katherine Higdon,
Yeah.
we're left with a profound sense of ambiguity, right?
Yeah.
Was she a victim of circumstance?
Right.
Or did she make a choice that forever altered the course of her life and the lives of those around her? we may never know for sure.
And that's the beauty and the frustration of true crime.
Yeah.
It holds a mirror to our own complexities,
Yeah.
that capacity for both love and violence,
Mm-hmm.
and leaves us grappling with the uncomfortable truth that sometimes there are no easy answers.
The case against Mary Katherine Higdon is a story that lingers in the mind,
Yeah.
a story that challenges our perceptions of justice and relationships,
Right.
and the unpredictable nature of human behavior.
It really is.
It's a story that invites us to continue exploring,
Absolutely.
to seek out additional information,
Yeah.
to delve deeper into the legal arguments, the forensic evidence,
Mm.
the psychological complexities that shape such tragic events.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the search for truth is an ongoing journey,
Yeah.
one that requires us to be open to different perspectives,
Absolutely.
to embrace the gray areas,
Right.
and to acknowledge that sometimes the most compelling stories are the ones that leave us with more questions than answers.